Chapter 8. Expensive Shopping. The twins let you sleep in, Mia said when Cal woke with everyone else active around the control room. They said you needed more rest. We're going to use our new bags, Kira said, poking forward a white shoulder bag. They're to hold our credits when we shop. You can hurry up now, Kira said. We're all ready and waiting for you. We're going to show Professor Frank all about the bazaar. On the long walk to the main bazaar entrance, the professor walking by Cal's side. You should consider getting property of your own. A base for your ship and a place to carry out maintenance. Swapping those thrusters will really need a hangar. Not that Cal hadn't dreamt of having his own spaceport. His dreams always included a place for spare parts and the cranes and hoists used to manipulate the massive components of a big ship. Then there was the bay to park spare freight pods and the store of food and consumables for the ship, and maybe another spare ship or two. All things possible with enough hard work. I'd like that when I have the spare credits. Be good to have a base in a safe place. I don't think you can wait too long. Events can happen quickly, and you need to be prepared. Maybe just look at getting some land for now. Cheap land out in the distant plains. Far enough away that no one bothers you. Get an old wrecked hull moved there as a storeroom. The whole lot could be set up for not too much. Maybe it's worth looking at prices, Cal said cautiously, but inside his mind was racing. 5 plastic credits paid at the entrance and they were all inside, the professor being grabbed each side by a twin who insisted they knew what he wanted to see first. Details and prices on an automedic, Cal whispered to Mia as he held her hand. You expecting trouble? No. But something to consider in the future, as well as setting up the other empty room into a guest room. He told you something. His position in the university is not very stable, and that deal with the fuel involved being the escape ship for another man in trouble. Hence that talk about land for a base. Mia paused a moment. We're being used. But nothing too bad for us. A fully fueled ship. Our own engineering expert, and safe access to the underside of the galaxy. Oh, and having our base where we can rest and repair is not a bad thing either. I'm seeing benefits, and I'm seeing problems. Maybe I have more to lose. People that don't respect you for the skill and ability you have. People who are ready to create smears behind your back. I could easily lose that when I had people that loved me and cared for me, even though they might stray a little from the shiny bright path the authorities portray. You'll be dragging me to your agent to get me married off next, I suppose. I can't truthfully say the idea hadn't crossed my mind. And I bet that idea made you smile. Smile all over my body. Her hand gripped tighter in his and they followed after the other 3. They seemed to be heading toward the section labeled thrusters. With much hand-waving and head-shaking, the professor and twins followed a salesman as he pointed out different thrusters. Even Cal noticed how big the right ones were. Big and heavy-looking. He would definitely need a large crane rig at his base. Automedic or land next. Whatever is closest, Cal said loudly when the thruster experts had given up their search. 2 million for that rubbish, Professor Frank muttered to everyone that would listen. We'll refurbish them ourselves. Automedics, Mia prompted. Medical things are over there. She pointed, and led toward that direction. Cal stayed last to make sure the others didn't stray. As they walked along the line of automedics, Cal thought he was inspecting a line of museum exhibits. There was nothing there he would trust his life with, and yet they were asking an emperor's ransom for them. How much for a new one? Cal asked a salesman. A good one. You would be thinking of the Planet Explorer model, I assume, sir. The one made to fit in a standard crew room space. Cal nodded. 2.6, sir, the salesman said as though everyone asked that question every day. Installation on your ship would be extra. Does that include the supplies? Professor Frank butted in. Basic supplies. The full Deep Space Explorer kit with surgery option would be an extra 0.4. So 3 million, Cal said. Plus installation, sir. Are there different models? Mia asked. Of course. I was quoting the best, but if you want a basic model, the price would be a little lower. The deluxe model will however cover all races and all ailments, and guarantee a successful outcome for most accidents, injuries and surgeries. What else do I have to pay for over the machine and supply pack? Cal asked. Training of your operator and installation, sir. I thought for that money it was automatic, Cal said between gritted teeth. But your operator needs training on how to set up the supply pack and what to press to activate the auto sections, sir. If payment is an issue, may I suggest you add the cost to your ship loan? Don't forget the great improvement in value to the craft a top-of-the-line medic can make. I'll never get that ship paid for, Cal muttered. If we wanted one, the professor began, how long before it would be delivered? 2 days tops, sir. Everything you need is packed in one pod ready for the installation crew, and the installation crew can complete a standard installation in 1 day, then you should allow another half day for crew training. Allow me to com you a brochure and a quotation ready for your financier to approve. It's an investment in your life you can't beat. Cal gave the salesman his com address, and while they waited for the quotation, Professor Frank said, maybe land next. Real estate agents are as bad as used ship salesmen, Cal muttered as Mia took the lead, saying she knew where to look. It had been half a day so far and they had accomplished nothing. How about snacks first, he said loudly. After this, Kira yelled back. The real estate section had the brightest displays of the whole bazaar, and behind every flashing and twinkling sign was a face ready to talk non-stop about the benefits of their wares. That one, Mia called out before a sign that read spaceports for every budget. Yeah. Don't tell me, the salesman said. I see it forming in my sight right now. Generous area of land for a small fleet of ships to park, all situated close to the center of town. Level and smooth main pad in front of a shiny hangar big enough for a large ship and a small personal runabout. Inside, rooms for service and parts storage, and of course a grand guest resting area. Am I right or am I right? You didn't say all that was only 2,000 credits, Cal said cuttingly. For 2,000 credits all I could offer is a plot out amongst the wrecks. Now that we might be interested in, Cal said, but the salesman was not easily deflected. I'm sure your women and children deserve much better than that, sir. Let me present this magnificent property that was only listed today. You will be the first to see it, and once you do, you will know that if you don't sign it right now the next person will. Cal stood back and thought of food while the women looked at the presentation with apt attention. They were completely sold right up to the final price. 19 million credits was too much for even them. Maybe a break for food, Cal said. I'll look better when I'm not hungry. Real food cooked here. No auto kitchen. With a sign like that it had to be good, and it really was. Sitting and eating together they discussed the events of the day. Of what we've looked at so far, the professor opened. Having a base is the most immediate thing, followed by an automedic. Your engineers can repair the thrusters in time once you have a base. Maybe we can grow real food like this if we had a base, Mia said. This meal is great. We'll learn how to do it easily, Kira said, Kyra nodding too. Did you see that every second ship here was marked with a yellow flag, the professor said. I'm thinking the authorities like to keep an eye on ships here, but they seem to do nothing about them. That might be different if we went to a main Imperial center, Cal said. Not that I want to go to a place like that anyhow. They know that Grand Bazaar is full of renegades, and while they know where they are, the authorities leave it that way. Keep all your enemies where you know them. If the Imperial ships start hassling these people, they'll scatter, and then the authorities will be in a worse state. You could be right, Cal said. You saying this planet would be the best place to set up a base because we would blend in with the rest. You got it. Not the prettiest place from what I've seen so far, but safe. Everything you want is right here, and no one asks too many questions as long as you have the credits. Can we try some sweets? Kyra asked. I'll go with them, Mia said. I know I'm taking over your ship in a way, but there are things I can't say that are making me suggest things to you. The professor was leaning in toward Cal and talking softly. That automedic. If there is any possible way you agree to extend your loan to get it, you will be rewarded many times over in the future. Someone needing treatment but can't go to get it, Cal said. If the mountain won't go to Mohammed, then Mohammed must go to the mountain. When would that move happen? 1 or 2 weeks. One trip like yesterday. Debts repaid and friendships strengthened. Wins on all sides. The women returned with sweets for everyone, and when they settled, the professor said, "We were discussing automedics. I know it is not my place, but I'd like to say something." He looked around and then continued. There are many reasons to have a top-of-the-line automedic on a ship. Some things you won't even think of yet. I know they are expensive, and it seems wrong to add that cost to an already large loan. It seems like it will never be paid out. But even if you had the plastic to pay for one fully now, you would still put it on the loan. But why? Mia asked. Imagine you were a small ship delivering things that are not always what the authorities want. If that ship had a large debt, the authorities would know that the captain badly needs the money. He would be almost a slave to working. He would be the perfect ship to track and watch what other people do. There would be no reason to bother him or stop him, because he is not a big player. So according to the Imperial Police, we are nothing but pointers to the big people they're after. That's it. You stay looking poor and desperate. No credit to pay a fine. Desperate for a job, and the authorities watch but never do anything. In this situation, being in big debt is almost better than an insurance policy. Is that why most of the ships around here are all yellow flagged? Cal asked. Small players in the Imperial rulers' bigger plans. You need to understand their plans and use them to your benefit. I can see your thinking, Mia said. A big part of me says any debt is bad, but then, what you say has a lot of merit. We need to show the professor more of the bazaar, Kyra said. He hasn't a lot of time, Kira added. I really want to see my agent, Cal said, seeing Mia staring at him. I only want to ask him about land around here. He seems to know everything that happens, and he won't charge us as much as some of these other places. That sounds a good idea, the professor said. Use the contacts you trust. We haven't seen him, Kyra said. Only on the terminal screen, Kira added. Will I be safe? Mia asked with a smile. What am I missing? The professor said, but Mia only shook her head. Maybe you see your agent while us women will take the professor to see where we found the twins, Mia said toward Cal. We'll meet back at the ship. That's the best, Kira said, loud enough for people nearby to turn their heads, so Cal was set to see his agent alone this time. Expecting you not so soon, Mr. Slee said the moment Cal came close to his office. Inside you coming? Business we talking? I have some things to ask you too, Cal said. You might be the best one to help. Working first. Credits solving many problems. Cal nodded. People you deliver last. They telling Cyrus you best ever delivery. Is good, no. Is good, Cal nodded. Wanting you again. I telling you busy. They telling wait they will doing. Credits we liking. You seeing delivery place and they giving you pod. You taking to Cyrus. They swapping and you return. Amount. Ah. You thinking now. Say my thinking. Is enough, no. I'll be there tomorrow after I deliver my engineers professor back to his university. Parts you getting? Mr. Slee had a finger up to his nose. Cal nodded. Is good. More trips you doing? More credits we all getting? Cal nodded again. Important business done. Now it was Cal's turn to ask, thinking of getting some cheap land to use as a base here. Nest for family. Safe and away from others. Secret base. Mr. Slee had a finger up to his nose again. Leaving me with finding you doing. Plastic. Cal nodded. Big. Cal nodded as he said, big enough to keep other people away. Leaving to me now you being doing. No one else you be asking. Mr. Slee had a finger across his mouth now. Some business not for he waved his arm around the room. We'll see you with plastic in 2 days, Cal said, making his escape and deciding to talk to the broker who arranged the finance for his ship before his stomach protested too much. Instant Ship Finance had an office in the bazaar at the end of the row of freight agents. Cal had dealt with a young lad called Eli, the lad keen for the commission and willing to overlook some of Cal's history, and provide a more convincing story for some events. Cal was hoping he was still there, but no. He was almost about to walk away, but he'd been recognized. You're the one who bought that really old converted warship, aren't you? Cal had to turn and nod. Back for a more modern ship. Doing well. Well enough, but not enough for a new ship. Maybe an automedic for my old one. Ooh, the man hissed. Those things are as much as a small ship. What have I got to lose, Cal thought. But a great investment and a real lift in the valuation of the ship. Plus it would guarantee I myself was kept in top physical condition and able to keep working hard to meet my payments. Take a seat while I look up your account. ID card. Cal sat while his stomach did cartwheels and his throat was so dry he wasn't sure he could speak again. In advance. You have been working hard. How much exactly were you thinking? Cal showed the quotation and the salesman transferred it onto his screen. You'll need to add installation. We can't just allow anyone installing a valuable instrument like this. Need to protect our investment. I'll call and get that cost. Cal waited and waited. Only an extra 200 thou. 3.2 million total, and we'll add our fees on top so you wouldn't have to pay anything up front. I'm sure we can approve that. Just a day or two to recheck the details, but a mere formality to a good operator like you. If it was approved, how long would the total loan period be? Cal croaked. Only 19 years. Nothing for a young captain like you. Just sign here and I'll message when the loan is through, and let the installer know to hold the unit for when you can fit it. Don't forget to call here first when you decide to buy your next ship. We'll always look after successful captains. Poor suckers, Cal muttered under his breath. As he walked away, he had no more desire to look at shops. As it was, he needed to live at least 19 years more before he could enjoy being free. A good rest in the ship was definitely called for now. He tried to snooze, but it wasn't going to happen. Tossing and turning and the thought running through his head that he was completely losing charge of his own life. Not that what was happening wasn't unwanted, only the time frame. One day he was a lone dreamer. Next he was part of a business of questionable nature spanning the galaxy, with people depending on him for their future. The noise of the others opening the main hatch had him running to meet them. We got some different things for the kitchen, Kira said, first through the doorway, a heavy-looking box in her hand. We all carried to save the delivery, Kira said, carrying another box. All to the kitchen, Mia said. My arms need a rest. What did you do while we were out? Saw about getting that automedic. We were talking to. Might be for the best. At least we'll be able to check ourselves whenever we see Mill. How long? Professor Frank asked as Kira came to grab his box from out of his hands. Couple of days for the loan to clear, then whenever they can install it. You waiting here for that? Drop you back, then got a quick job, then most likely back here for the installation. The professor's mouth prepared to speak, but then stopped. That new menu food is ready to try, Kira yelled from the back. We better try it, Mia said. They were so keen to show. Food tested over a discussion of sights seen, both Cal and the professor mostly quiet. Then it was time to move, Mia setting course to the university ground and the twins excitedly calling readings of the ship to their professor who seemed to be forcing himself to appear interested. Planet night when they landed on the university grounds, everyone following the professor as he made for the hatch. You forgot your bag, Kira said as the man was leaving with empty hands. Ready for next time? The rod remover? Kira asked. This ship needs it more than a museum. 1 or 2 weeks, Cal said. I'll message when the ship is ready. The professor lifted an arm toward them, then set off alone toward the building in the distance. Goodbye, the 3 women called after him in the dark. Let's get up into a parking orbit and then we can all have a good talk. Cal received no complaints, the crew silent over the hum of the thrusters as they did their thing. Then the silence of the orbit hanging as the trip was over. So much to discuss, yet all I want to do now is rest and cuddle you all. Cuddling while talking is best, Kira said, getting up from the weapons chair. He didn't want to leave, Kira said softly, getting up from her chair too. Is he in trouble? Mia asked, sitting up from the pilot's couch and facing Cal. His job. Trouble there. He was the best ever professor, Kira said. All the best things we learned from him. The other teachers knew nothing interesting like he did, Kira said. I didn't like him at first, Mia said. And you didn't like him taking over like he did? No. But look at what's changed over 2 days. I like the improvements a lot. So do we, Kira said, climbing up to get on the bed. That scanner is the best, Kira added, following her sister. Maybe he's pointing us to a risky direction, but I can't but feel excited by it, don't you? Cal said, looking at Mia. Just keep being careful. You've got a family to keep safe now. Cal kept them safe by stretching his arm out to cover them in his reach, and for once, they all seemed to sleep as deeply as he did. The Sea Stallion Book 1. Big Dreams but No Credits. A Space Adventure. By Mystic Alchemist. Copyright 2023-2024 Mystic Alchemist. All rights reserved. Written in Australian English. This book is a work of fiction. Names, characters, places and incidents are either a product of the author's imagination or are used fictitiously. Any resemblance to actual people living or dead, events or locales is purely coincidental. Cover and text written and assembled by hand without use of artificial intelligence.